Hello, everyone. How are you, bright lights? My name is Laura Beninkowski, and I'm an international life and relationship coach. And I coach in English, Spanish, Finnish, and Italian. Welcome to another episode of Waking Up to Your True Potential, where I interview amazing people that I know all over the world that bring you amazing practical tips to live a better life. And I'm very excited to have my guest today. My guest today is Peter Wright, and Peter is an NLP coach and trainer, and he's also a theater improv facilitator. And Peter and myself, we're both Finnish. We have the connection to Finland. Peter is Irish Finnish, and I was born in Finland. So yeah, so we have that connection. So it's so nice to see you again, Peter. How are you today?
I'm very excited for this interview. Well, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks. I'm very well, thanks. So Peter, you've had quite an interesting journey. You used to work in banking. You worked in banking for 10 years. And then you decided to do something different. Can you share with me a little bit about your journey?
Well, yeah, I guess I never chose banking, but in a way I did, because at the age of 12, I remember just wanting to have an ordinary 9 to 5 job because my parents didn't have a very stable jobs. They were creative types, and I just said ordinary job and ended up studying business studies and working in banking, and something in me heard about going traveling. And there was something in me that said, this, okay, I could go traveling, but I was so scared to leave. I had a relatively well-paid job in banking, and I was very attached to the life I was living, even though I could see, looking back at it, that I was not very happy. But travel was the thing that kind of started to open me up to the world. But it took 14 months traveling in South America. It was only at the very last month that I had an experience that shifted my way of thinking, because I realized I had gone off there to travel to change, but it took a long time to change. And even when I got back to Dublin afterwards, I still went back into the financial world because I didn't know what else to do, until numerous courses and numerous experiences and opening up to the possibilities of, well, there's more than just um, this 9 to 5 routine that's there, that's comfortable, but I, it was not killing me, wouldn't be the word, but just making me less of myself. My life was getting more closed, and yeah, it was just not fulfilling. And now
Yeah.
it's like a contrast. I could never imagine myself being here in Kinsale, studying drama and coaching and teaching improv. So it's like I can't recognize that person I was.
Right. You in a way you think about yourself, before and after. And it's interesting that you had such a profound experience in South America, because as you know, I grew up in Venezuela. So so I'm very Latin and Venezolana myself, as well. And you went all over South America, right? Like, what were all the countries that you visited?
Yeah, I went from Cuba and Mexico all the way down to Argentina, all the countries. I didn't get to go to Venezuela
Right,
though.
you went everywhere except
So I
Venezuela.
got to see those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't quite that adventurous at the time. And yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
would have gone a few years ago, but right now it's quite different.
It's very dangerous. Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful country, but it's very dangerous right now. So yeah. Yeah, not a good time to visit now. Yeah. So I understand. I understand why you didn't go. Yeah. But so you had a profound experience in South America, and then you mentioned that you had, it sounds like you had a big awakening in South America in a way. Do you want to tell me more about that awakening?
Yeah, I wouldn't have known what that word was at all. I didn't have a clue. I traveled through South America, and people were going off doing these plant medicines, ayahuasca and San Pedro, that I met along the way, and um, I didn't appeal to me in any way, because I said, there's nothing wrong with me. Why would I do that? Little did I know, looking back, I was like, I didn't have a clue that there was any possibility to change or another world out there. And
Right.
I was in Argentina and Buenos Aires, living quite a hedonistic lifestyle. And leading up to my 30th birthday, everything was leading up to that 30th birthday, because that's a big thing to
Yeah.
turn 30.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the reason why I went traveling, was like, I had to do this before my 30s are up. And because I thought, that's it, life's over then, to just go off and
Right.
continue on
You
your
thought the life
career.
was over at
And
30. That's, yeah, it just starts at 30. Yeah.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah. And it was on my 30th birthday. I was working in a hostel in Buenos Aires, on the top of this balcony. There's one of my colleagues was doing something, it looks like massage, and it was 2 a.m. I was feeling lost. And I asked her, can I have some of that after you she was doing it to my colleague, who I was working with in a hostel with. And so she put her hands on me, and I was like, what was that? Anyway, it turns out it was Reiki,
Oh,
and that just something switched on. But I mean, all the sunsets I'd seen along the way on that over a year of traveling in South America, they all had effect. All these Mayan temples and
oh,
Incan ruins and
yes.
special
That's all
moments
that. Yeah,
all had
that's
an effect.
all of my things. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it was all there, but it was that with the Reiki, that's really just something
Something just
changed.
clicked.
But
Something just clicked in you.
yeah,
Okay.
but it's been slow. When I was 30, it's been a slow kind of evolution. I've heard of people changing quite quickly, but I did Reiki courses after that and went to a certain level, and then realized there's people out there with better, who have more intuitive grasp of this. And it's, for me, it was like finding the path of least resistance, and what I'm interested in. So I just followed that thing I was interested in, curious about, and that brought me to NLP. And initially, when I heard of NLP, it sounds like, oh, that's yucky, that's manipulation. And I went and I studied with the guy who created NLP, John Grinder. He was the guy who taught Tony Robbins. Now, more people know about Tony Robbins these days than NLP,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
And Tony Robbins, he learned under John Grinder, and he ended up going off to Mexico, actually, and he came back with the firewalking and a whole new concept, and he
Yeah.
changed all the wording of NLP to his own words, but he has got that structure of NLP within him, and that's NLP has been the framework for being able to see new perspectives, just changing perspectives. And that, for me, is one of the most important things about NLP, is seeing a different perspective. Because like right now, we're seeing very much how the world is full of different perspectives, but there's one
Yeah.
perspective which is all pervasive.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's really interesting. And I'm an NLP practitioner as well. So I know a lot about NLP, and I use it in my coaching as well. And it is true that it's about that different perspective, right? Because every person has their map of the world, right? And your map of the world is created by your childhood and all of those experiences, right? And many times people feel that they're stuck in those maps of the world. Many times they feel that they can't change that map of the world, but they can. They can. And NLP gives you the tools to change that, right? So it's very powerful. It's very, very powerful, definitely. Definitely. And yeah, and it's amazing that you trained, with the founder of NLP as well. So and you use NLP with you're doing the drama now, right? Like you use the theater, improv, facilitation, and you include the NLP with it, right?
Yeah, I spent the last year studying drama. Is one thing I did as a child, and not with any intention of becoming an actor. Um, but I did it for storytelling and to be the the to be able to be someone else. It's an amazing quality, and it aligns with NLP so much, because NLP at its core, as John Grinder would say, is modeling. The way the little child, the baby, looks up at the adult, and it doesn't have any words in their head saying, oh, he's doing that, he's doing this. They just assimilate it. They just unconsciously take on that, and they're learning all the time. The baby is learning and curious about the world, and it's that curiosity that is at the heart of NLP. And I've done many other workshops, and a lot of the workshops, at their heart, is like acting as if it's real. So what
Yes.
my thing now is called Act As If, and it's combining drama. In drama, we are creating imaginary worlds. We're believing them to be totally real, and with NLP and its tools, that part of us that starts to imagine another world, and it doesn't, when we're doing a manifestation, it's manifesting another reality into ourselves. And the world I'm living in right now, I could have never imagined it from my conscious mind a few years ago. Not even in 2 years ago or 1 year ago, I couldn't have imagined this world. But it was
Right.
done through many different acts of acting as if that I'm creating a new world for myself. And I've created this world with this amazing community of artists and actors and activists around, and just really interesting people. But
Yeah.
it wasn't done in a kind of way that you would like take up a script and say, if I could have
That
scripted this, I would have been a genius. I mean, I would have been
you
like
couldn't even have
so,
scripted it.
like,
Like, yeah. Yeah.
no, I couldn't have. But acting as if, of like stepping into another world, into another felt world. Maybe there's like listeners out there who kind of have a vision. They can see it or they can hear it. That's great. If you know what it looks like, that makes it easier. But the most interesting thing is when you don't know what it looks like, but you're willing to go into it, going into the unknown spaces that in there's uncertain times right now. And the most thing we want to hang on to is certainty. We want to know something for sure, but
Yeah.
and it's the hardest thing is to just to be able to go, okay, but it's gonna be better. It's gonna be better than what we have right now. It's like the world we're gonna create,
Yes.
or you're gonna create, is better than the one that's right now. And you don't know how it's gonna look like or smell like or taste like, but it's
Yeah.
gonna taste. Most important thing is what's it gonna feel like.
Yes.
We just want we have these feelings. We feel the things that we're familiar with, and then there's the things that are unfamiliar with, we don't like, and that's hard, that's difficult to go into that. But in acting as if, which was William James, he was a American psychologist, he coined that term. He said that you can go and you create that world. He said it like 120 years ago, that we
Yeah.
create a world, but it's really to start believing in it more and more. And yeah, this is the path that I've been on, that I didn't even know about it. In theater improv, in improvisation, we don't know what we're going to create together. 5 or 6 of us come together, and we're all there. We're all a bit anxious and apprehensive because people have come to see. We've got a show on Thursday here, actually.
Mm.
We've got a theater improv show, and people are going to come and see a show that we don't know what's going to be. But
Right.
we're all in that uncertainty, and we go in and we're just there together in this group of us, and we'll create a story. And it's only through looking back at it that it all makes sense. But if we
Yes.
know that setting off and creating a story, if one of us has one story and we want to impose that story on everyone else, then we're imposing one person's reality on everyone else, and they have to follow that story. But the more interesting part is that when everyone is part of it, and then we look back on that story of, like, for example, how I ended up here, and it's, yes, it made sense. I had to suffer 10 years working in financial. I had to become more and more cynical and all that until I come to a point of saying, ah,
Yeah.
but I never went to that point of saying, I never had that film moment of saying, fuck, this is
Yeah.
terrible, this is shit, I'm gonna
Yeah.
walk out of this office right now and tell everyone. No,
You
no,
didn't have
it
that
was, it
Tom Cruise
unfolded more
moment in Jerry
gently.
Maguire.
No, no. I haven't seen that one, but no, I
Yeah.
didn't. No.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. It's fascinating everything that you're saying, Peter, and I can relate to it so much because in terms of using NLP and in terms of acting as if, one thing that I say to my coaching clients is when you really want something, for example, if you want a relationship, you need to feel like you're already in that relationship, right? You need to step into that vibration and that energy, and you need to use all your five senses. So what will you feel? What will you see? What will you hear? What will you taste? What will you smell? What will you touch? You need to get in there with all of your five senses, right? That's how you bring it closer to your reality, right? So I totally understand everything that you're talking about, acting as if, right? And it's very powerful, very, very powerful in manifesting all kinds of things into your life, right? You need to step into that vibration, right? You need to be that energy, right? And just as Deepak Chopra, who who I know from taking courses with him, he talks about become the person that you want to be with, right? So it's stepping into that vibration. If you want to be with a happy and positive person, you need to be happy and positive yourself as well, right? It's all about the being with you know the law of attraction. Like attracts like. So that goes with NLP and acting as if. And you mentioned traveling. You mentioned that you love traveling and you've learned so much on your travels. And I know that one place that you've gone to, which I have to go to as well, it's on my to-do list. You've been to Bali, and you had some amazing experiences in Bali. So can you please share with me your experiences in Bali?
Yeah, thanks. I went there I was part of an NLP course, and I was a facilitator on a course. It was the first time facilitating, and it was exhausting for 10 days. It's intense. You're really in a bubble of intense learning that the teachers are learning and the participants are learning. And I was exhausted. And after that, I went to this island called Nusa Penida, and I met some beautiful locals there. And after that, I was going to do a course in generative trance, which is hypnosis in Australia. And after I was in Australia and the whole lockdown was happening, I just got this impulse. I want to go back to Bali. I've got this. I wanted to hear. I wanted to experience this festival they have there. They have a festival, and the next day they have 24 hours of silence where nobody is allowed to leave the house. It sounds quite familiar, but they did it by choice. Nobody was allowed to leave the house. People all stayed inside, meditated for the day in silence. There was no electricity on it was all turned off.
Wow.
No telecommunications was turned off too. Um, and yeah, so but the night before they have this celebration, and in that they go into a trance, and it's whoever gets that impulse. There's 600 villagers there, and there's music and there's shamanistic. They put on these masks, right? And these masks are scary, and they're first of all, I just thought it was just entertainment. So the mask's on, and there's the guy with the mask is talking very angrily, and all this. Suddenly, I got this rage built up in me, and I started to get angry at a mask. And then I started laughing at myself. And then I thought, like, we have our Donald Trumps of the world and we all get angry at them. But in their culture, they have this experience where they can put on these masks of these, and for people to go and get angry with them. And then they go into a trance state. Some people go up and get into a trance state. And it's normal because that's part of their culture. In our culture, we're afraid of those kind of things. But in those culture, they just see it as normal. It's normal, part of life. Such a unique culture, amazing experience. And I was the only Westerner there because and
Wow.
all the rest of the festivals were cancelled because of COVID. But I got to experience it with locals, so really grateful.
Wow. That sounds like an amazing experience. And yeah, I'm really drawn to go to Bali. Hopefully I can go in 2022. That would be amazing. But yeah, it's great that you've traveled to so many different places, and you know, you've taken these NLP courses and in so many different places as well. And it's always great to get immersed with the local people, right? Like you really live the culture so closely that way, right? Like all the traditions and you know, the
Mm-hmm.
culture, the food, all of it, right? You experience it in such a different way, right? And it's so enriching in so many ways. Yeah. And since you have so much experience with NLP, if I was to ask you, what would be 3 practical NLP tips that you would give, like, to that people can do on a daily basis? Like, what would those be? Or what are 3 NLP practices that you do on a daily basis?
Uh, First one would be anchoring. So
Mm.
anchoring in states. NLP deals with this. Sorry, I
Hello?
think we just dropped. Yeah,
Yeah. All right.
I think we
Okay.
dropped.
Okay. Yeah,
We're
it's okay.
back.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
back. We're back.
apologies.
Continue. It's okay.
Yeah, so like
Anchoring.
in NLP, um, the problem is never the problem, it's the state we approach the problem with. So the more states we have available to us to approach the problem with, the better it is. So anchoring in a state, and of course doing meditation, I do a morning journal. It's whatever that state that brings you into a place where your muscles, your being becomes relaxed and not tense. It's that neuromuscular lock, that what happens when we go into those things that activate that. So when our muscles tense up and we get stressed and we something like that, we start with breathing, but also like anchoring in positive state. Um, those states can be, yeah, you can anchor in. Now for someone without experience NLP, um, it's about breathing, remembering to breathe, which I forget all the time. And
Yeah,
I'm
breathing. Yeah.
always constantly reminded to situations of that holding the breath, that
Yeah.
held breath that just continues, that gives it tension. So breathing is
Yeah.
the first part. And I'm telling that to myself here, firstly. Breathing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Breathe,
Yeah.
breathe, breathe.
Breathe. Yeah, it seems so basic, right? It seems so basic and something that we shouldn't even think about, but it's so important, right? It's so important. The breathing part, definitely.
Mm,
Definitely. Yeah. So
yeah,
so
yeah.
anchoring. I love that you mentioned anchoring, because I remember when I was becoming an NLP practitioner, I remember how powerful anchoring was. And I remember the exercises that we would like pinch our hands and we would anchor in states that way. And then even anchoring, you know, when I think of anchoring, just like when you put your foot down like on the ground or on the grass, like there you anchor yourself as well, right?
Mm,
So yeah, so
mm-hmm.
I love anchoring. So it's really good that you mentioned it. So anchoring, meditation, journaling, all of these things are really powerful practices and can really make a difference, right? They can really make a difference in your life. And the thing is to adopt these practices on a daily basis, right? Because the more you do them, the more like they become habits, right? They become positive habits, and the more positive habits you have, the better your life will flow. Your life will flow in all ways. So so thank you so much, Peter, for for being on the series today, and for sharing all the knowledge that you have about NLP, and about the theater improvisation as well. Like, all of that is so fascinating, and it's so great to see this, that you've manifested, that you're in this amazing community, that you've manifested without even having like a proper intention of manifesting it, but life brought you to that point right now, which is so aligned. It's so aligned to where you are right now. And I think also that type of community is the type of community that's, it's part of creating this new earth, right? Because if we think about it, things are never going to be the same as they were, before COVID, right? So it's like we have life, pre-COVID and during COVID, and now, post-COVID. So I think that one thing that we all have to think about is, what kind of new earth do we want to create, right? And what do we want our contribution to be, to this new earth? And it's a new earth, and it's the shift of consciousness of humanity. It's all happening now, right? So we're all part of it. We're all part of it, and we need to think about, yeah, how do we want to make a difference, right? How do we want to make a difference in this world? So yeah, so thank you so much for joining me today, Peter. And what's the best way to reach you? If somebody wants to reach you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Through the Facebook site, which is Accelerated Harmony. That's probably the
Accelerated
easiest way.
Harmony.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
And thank you very much for this. This has been brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, going back to the anchoring parts, it's the world that's around us anchors us, and we're anchored in by everything. Like, and interesting parts, like say example, the smell of petrol. For some people, this is a really great smell, right? And because we're anchored in from the past, those past memories of being a child, or because our father loved the smell of it too. And but like, this is the toxic material that is not healthy for us to be inhaling. But it's that kind of unconscious things from the past that we're anchored in. So the more people can get with surrounded by people that are giving something to them, like just bringing out their best part, because that's what your thing is about, is like how to become your best person. And
Exactly.
it's hard to do it alone. You don't need to do it alone. There's so many people out there. You're an incredible coach, and you're entering all these other, but there's so many different methods out there, and it's like opening up to all that help, that it's like you don't have to do it all alone. There is a certain journey you'll do alone, but to open up to all these possibilities, how you created your on this platform, how you've been getting help from other people. It's like they're just there for you.
Exactly. It's like I have my team helping me. And that's a really good point. That's a really good point that you bring up, that we're all in this together, right? We're not on these journeys alone, right? So it's about working together, right? We're all connected, and we're all on this earth together, right? So it's about, how are we going to create that new earth together? So yeah, thank you. Thank you for bringing that up.
And it's happening, and you're doing it. So thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you. We're doing it together, Peter. You, me, and the rest of the world, right? But yeah, we're putting our little grain of sand, right? We're putting our little grain of sand, we're sprinkling the magical, stardust and the grains of sand. So yeah, we're doing our part, and of course, everybody can do their part, right? And you do your part every day. You choose your thoughts, your words, and your actions, right? And the more conscientious you are about your, the more conscientious and mindful you are of the type of energy that you're putting out into the world, the type of energy that you're sharing with people, that's how we start making big changes, right? That's how we start changing the world and make the world a better place, right? By all of this, all of us working together, right? All of us working together and putting better energy out there. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Peter, for everything that you
Thank
shared.
you.
And thank you, thank you for making a difference. Thank you for making a difference in this world. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I hope that you got inspired to make a difference. Think about at least one thing that you can do, to make your life better and to make a contribution, to the bigger world as well. Don't forget to subscribe and give us some comments and likes as well. And please share with your friends and family as well. And you can follow me on all my social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. And don't forget to tune in next Friday. Every Friday, I have a new video out with a great interview with more practical tools and tips for waking you up to your true potential. So thank you, Bright Lights. Be well, stay well, and be happy. And I'll see you soon. Bye.